Well, just in case you were wondering, folks, Red Line Radio will be back at the Summit Racing powered, piston powered Autorama next weekend, April 31st. I'm sorry, March 31st through April 2nd. We will be there from doors open till doors close all 3 days. And we are bringing just about every show that Redline Radio has to offer that weekend. Timbuk Tuesdays, Club Pizzle, That Guy Dub, The Lex Vegas Show, Grapevine, Cocktails and Comedy with Jen Jen, TMI, The Steel City Renegades, Loud and Local, Talking About Balls. Of course, Money's Crazy Mind, 4th and 15, and Unscripted will all be broadcasting live from the piston-powered Autorama. Don't miss your chance to be a part of this great weekend of events. We will see each and every single one of you at the piston-powered Autorama next weekend, March 31st through April 2nd at the IX Center. Tickets are still available, and we can't wait to see all of you next weekend. And of course, Incredible Keepsakes is the official provider of all merchandise for Red Line Radio LLC and its show hosts. You can contact them at incrediblekeepsakes.com.
This is really gross, but dirty trash cans can pose a serious health risk to you and your family. The pungent smell can attract rats and flies, not to mention maggots, both of which can contain dangerous diseases transferable to humans. Your dirty trash can is susceptible to harboring dangerous bacteria. Contact Brandon at Fitz Trash Bin Cleaning today at 440-752-1533 or find them on Facebook. Veteran owned and operated and eco-friendly. Again, call Brandon at 440-752-1533.
Money's Crazy Mind contains language that may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised, but will be completely ignored.
I'm sick of it, doing right, doing wrong. Parents pissed off every time I write a song. What the fuck is that? It's something funny, made for you to laugh.
Sing America with your rap.
You're so full of shit, I need to call hazmat. The only way I would ever apologize is if I had my face buried in your sister's thighs. Okay, I'm sorry for what it's worth, but the best part of you was the afterbirth. If you can't take a fucking joke, then go jump in the river. Na 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 na, and I fucked your sister. You can't take a fucking joke, then go jump in the river. La 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 la, and I fucked your sister.
Well, here it is. Another week here in the asylum. Coming at you live from the Growing Wings Adult Services Studios here in what I guess you can consider to be somewhat sunny Berea, Ohio. I mean, it looks like there might be a little bit of overcast outside, but I mean, I can't really tell. But what's going on, everybody? As you can see, you know, when we say the inmates have taken over the asylum and Nurse Ratchet can't see you anymore, well, look, motherfuckers burned the place to the ground, man. I need to find an all-new asylum now. But here we are. It's another Friday night. It's 8 o'clock p.m. And the asylum is back, man. You know, last week we did, or 2 weeks ago, actually now, We did the 100th episode. I want to thank everybody about that. Crowd's a little excited here in studio too, man. But, you know, a few things happened with the creation of episode 100, and I kind of want to just talk about that for a minute. So, episode 100 is exactly what it needed to be. And there will be, because I've already made the decision, it's my movie, I can do whatever the fuck I want to it, but I've made the decision that there will, in fact, be a director's cut of Money's Crazy Failure, the film that I showed 2 weeks ago for episode 100, in the near future. So why? Well, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do for that film that I just either A, didn't have time to do, or B, just couldn't make it happen in the time that I needed it to happen. You know, as you saw in the film, the idea for that film to even be episode 100 happened very last minute, and it was not something that originally I intended to be episode 100. Now, as you saw in my little post-movie little interview kind of thing, that was not the original idea for episode 100. I threw a bunch of ideas around, and, you know, that's just the one that ended up being able to happen at the time I needed it to happen. Now, there were a lot of things in that film, like, you know, just, you know, ideas that I had planned a lot more than probably were planned. And I did that on purpose. You know, like I said, the whole film was a fake. You know, everything that was in that film was completely fabricated. Like, you know, no plan that I had for episode 100 fell apart, nothing like that. You know, it was just a way to make the film funny. The film was the idea for episode 100. The way the film looked and sounded and everything like that necessarily was not the idea for episode 100. But everything kind of came together last minute. We put it together the best we could to put episode 100 out when it needed to be out and everything like that. So stay tuned for when the director's cut will be happening. It is happening. I can promise that. It will happen. I have an idea of when I want it to happen, and we'll go from there. So where was Money's Crazy Mind last week? Well, last week was St. Patrick's Day, you know, and that's just a crazy time of the year. And, you know, I'm working again, so, you know, just couldn't make it happen when I needed to make it happen. So took the week off, decided to recoup from episode 100 and give everybody a chance to get into this new version of Money's Crazy Mind that we're going to see moving forward. I'm doing some changes to the show. Nothing too drastic, nothing too spectacular. You know, obviously I need to find a new asylum because everybody else that lives in this fucking place decided it was time to burn this one to the ground. So there's that. So we're going to see some changes with that. You know, we'll get into more about that as the show goes on. You know, so that's kind of why I wanted to just go old school with this, man, and just give you guys a feel of what Money's Crazy Mind is when I don't have an agenda, when I don't have a specific topic I want to talk about. So I kind of just go based on things that have happened recently, not necessarily to me. You know, there's obviously some things that have been going on that I kind of want to talk about. The topic for last week's show, we will do. I can promise that. Because I do think it's something that I want to talk about. It's something that I want to tackle. The reason why I'm putting that one off to the wayside for just a small smidgen of time is threefold. One, I haven't had a chance to see Scream 6 yet, and I want to see it. Two, I hear that there are a couple other reboots in the horror genre that are coming out that I kind of want to get into and see how those are going to go. But I do think it's a topic that deserves discussion. Are all of these reboots in the horror genre taking away from the luster and the lore and everything else that is associated with all of that shit of the originals? Perfect example of that is Halloween. Halloween 2018, great movie. Halloween Kills. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I did. I loved it. I thought it was exactly what that film needed to be. Halloween Ends, however, looks more like My Asylum. And something happened on the set of Scream that kind of made me start thinking about that topic and made me start saying, maybe this is a topic that I want to discuss. And that is that Neve Campbell is not in the film. And her reasoning behind it was that Paramount Pictures did not want to compensate her financially the way that she thought they should have. And there's a lot of, that's a very heavy, very specific topic. And it's definitely one that I want to talk about because I do think that that's an important thing for what's going to happen moving forward with the Scream franchise, should it move forward. And Neve herself did say if Paramount can figure out a way to compensate her the way that she deserves to be compensated, she has no problem coming back and playing with Ghostface again. But the big question that I kind of wanted to ask was, how can you make a Scream movie without Sidney fucking Prescott? Well, there's a lot of ways you can do that. Maybe the story doesn't have really much to do with Sidney. Maybe they're moving on from Sidney Prescott. Maybe it's time for Ghostface to go after somebody else. Now think about this. You already killed David Arquette, Dewey, in the last film. And for all intents and purposes, Gale Weathers should have probably died back in Scream 3 or Scream 2 even. But you had other characters return. You had Hayden Panettiere's character return. Now, like I said, I have not seen the movie yet. I'm going just based off of the information that I know, which is the cast. I have stayed away from any spoilers, any synopses, anything like that involving Scream 6, because it's definitely a film I want to see. So maybe the Sidney character was not all that needed to tell this story for Scream 6. And that's probably why Neve Campbell was given the financial piece that she was given. So there's that part of it. I want to look into that. I want to see how involved was Sidney Prescott in this original story. And I know how they wrote her out of the script because unfortunately it was in the news article that I read about that. But I think that's something that Neve needs to take into account as well. How much is Sidney Prescott needed to continue to move forward the story of Scream? I think that that's an important thing that we need to look into. So that topic will be coming in the very near future. Also coming in the very near future, I'm going to sit down and have not only the guys from Four Loko in the studio, but also the guys from Grunge DNA in the studio. And these two are going to go head to head in a battle of the bands. This has already been announced. It is a concert that is going to happen. These guys are going to have the pre-fight press conference right here in the Asylum in Studio 2, and it is going to be balls to the wall, man. I cannot wait to have these guys in, and I think we better have a referee on standby because shit gonna get crazy up here in the Growing Wings Adult Services Studios. Now, you heard it at the beginning of the show when we were waiting to kick off the show here in Studio Number Dos. Next weekend, the team from Redline Radio, all of us are going to be at the IX Center for the piston-powered Auto-Rama. Myself, I'll be there Friday night, a little bit earlier than normal. I'm going on from 6 to 8. The reason why that is because doors close at 9, and normally I'm 8 to 10. So, I mean, you know, I got to make it fit somehow, right? I mean, actually, I'm sorry. I'm going 7 to 9. That's right. I'm going 7 to 9. I think. I'll get back to you on that. But it's either 6 to 8 or 7 to 9. One of those two. I just know I close out Friday night. And we are going to have a discussion because the next day, day 1 of WrestleMania. So we're going to break down the WrestleMania card. I think I'm going to have a couple of people join me that are there at the Piston Powered Autorama that weekend. So stay tuned for all of that. So, I mean, here we go, right? I mean, this past week has been absolutely bonkers. I mean, we had St. Patrick's Day. You know, we're learning that Trump might get arrested. You know, just a bunch of stuff was going on. But one thing happened that I found absolutely just, what the fuck? And that was this. I was scrolling through the interwebs one day and came across a story that I found very, very interesting. And that story basically stated that Blockbuster's website, which has not had any information on it for a very long time, is all of a sudden active. So, I'm like, what's going on over at Blockbuster.com? What could they potentially be doing? The TV show's been canceled. We all know that. The last Blockbuster is going gangbusters, man. Sandy and the team up there is cool and rocking it. But they have their own website. So what the hell is going on at Blockbuster.com? So I looked it up. And this is what we see. And you see there at the top in the search bar, I know it's a little hard to see because of how small it is, but Blockbuster.com. You see the classic Blockbuster logo, and then right down there it says, "We are working on rewinding your movie." What are we doing, Blockbuster.com? Are we reopening stores? That was my favorite job. Can I come back? Please? Or are we getting another streaming service that I got to pay for? What's going on here? Talk to me, man. Hello? I don't know what that is, but here's something that's really interesting. Now, obviously, this was on a computer. You can see there, I went to a computer and looked it up. But if you go to the website on your mobile device, Nurse Ratchet's office hasn't caught fire yet, so we're going to jump in there real quick. This is what you get. Be kind while we rewind. Cryptic. Very cryptic. What could this potentially mean? You heard the questions I asked, and there you go. See again, right there. It's a little bit easier to see because that's from my mobile phone, but you see right there, Blockbuster.com. I didn't go to Bend Blockbuster or anything like that. That is the official Blockbuster website. So what does this all mean? Where is Blockbuster going with this? Are they mounting a comeback to start reopening stores? Because I can tell you right now, most of the real estate that Blockbuster used to own, that all their stores used to sit on, can't get back to it now. There's shit there. The store that I worked at in Garfield Heights, man, it's a fucking Sherwin-Williams now. But it's that kind of information that has me wondering, is Blockbuster going to start a brand new streaming service? Now, Dish Network owns the trademark to Blockbuster. They own the Blockbuster brand. And I'll let you guys in on a little bit of insider information since I used to work at Blockbuster. They owned the brand long before we shut our doors for good. Jim Keys may have been the CEO of the Blockbuster brand, but Dish Network has owned the trademark and owned the company for quite some time. Every year that the Ben Blockbuster remains in business and does enough to turn a profit to stay in business, they have to renew the lease for the Blockbuster name every year. And I know that Sandy's working out a deal to where she doesn't have to do that anymore, where, as long as the store is open and operating and doing business, Dish is willing to let her have the trademark at no cost. But they still have to renew it. So, there's still things that they need to do to make that happen. I know that for a fact. It was just interesting to see. It was interesting to see the Blockbuster website just automatically go, we're rewinding your movie. What the fuck does that mean? Is there a Blockbuster movie coming out? Is there a new documentary coming out about the history of Blockbuster? Because I've seen two. I can tell you right now, they were both very well done. And that was Netflix versus the World, which talked a lot about the history of Blockbuster. And obviously, The Last Blockbuster, which talked a lot about the history of Blockbuster as well. What else is there to say, Blockbuster? Just reopen your stores if that's what you want to do. And this has started a crazy debate online as well. I belong to a group of 4K Ultra HD physical media disc traders. Not traders, but, enthusiasts. But they also talk a lot about Blu-ray and DVD and things of that nature in there as well. Somebody shared the screenshot of the Blockbuster website, which shows the we are working on rewinding your movie. That. And it kind of raised the question, like, would you guys be happy if Blockbuster comes back? Is this something that you guys want? Is physical media still alive and powerful enough to sustain the return of Blockbuster? It's an interesting question that we got to ask. Me personally, I prefer physical media. And there are a lot of reasons to that. Personal reasons, but it's kind of funny how there's a lot of like-minded individuals in the group that I belong to that all say the same thing. When you stream a 4K movie, yes, you are getting 4K, but are you getting true Dolby Vision? Are you getting true HDR10? Are you getting true Dolby audio? I can answer all of those questions, and the answer is no. Now, on my TV, when I am streaming a 4K film, if it does have Dolby Vision or if it does have HDR10, the logo will pop up, either the Dolby Vision logo or the HDR10 logo. It'll say HDR in the upper right-hand corner. I leave that on for a reason, because I test these places. I test these streaming sites to see if they are giving what is advertised. So far, the only one that has is Paramount Plus. Where they fall is the Dolby Sound. You get 5.1 True HD surround, but you don't get full Atmos. You don't get other things. The biggest culprit of this is the one that I think is going to surprise people, because they tout themselves on having all of this 4K content and all of this great stuff, and that's Disney Plus. HBO Max, you get some 4K content on there, and there is a little bit of it, Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Some of the other DC stuff is in 4K. The Matrix Revolutions, or whatever, the latest Matrix movie, any of that stuff that they showed, same time as theaters, Wonder Woman 84, stuff like that, that's all 4K. But that's about it. But I can tell you right now, I can definitely tell a difference watching a 4K disc than looking at 4K media online. The biggest change is in the sound. And I don't know why that is. I mean, you would think, especially with like a website like, or a service like Movies Anywhere, where you're entering in the digital code that you get when you buy the physical media. Or you possibly buy it online. You know, there are retailers online where you can buy digital films. That you would get exactly what's on the disc, but you don't. You don't. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think, is a perfect example of this. On the disc, you get DTS Dolby Atmos. On the stream, you only get DTS 5. You don't even get DTS. You just get Dolby Digital 5.1. Just something to think about. So, and I'm probably going to put this up as a poll on the Money's Crazy Mind Facebook page, so stay tuned for that as well. But if Blockbuster was to return as a physical entity where you can walk in and rent a movie and speak to a human being about what is on that movie. Because I can tell you right now, that was one of my favorite parts about that job. I got to watch any movie I wanted for free because I worked there. I got to see them before they came out to the public. But then when somebody would come up to me, and this is probably one of my favorite scenes from Clerks, is when there's that woman standing in the video store, and she's talking to Randall, and she's holding 2 discs in her hand, or actually VHSs back then, because we're talking about the early 90s. And she's sitting there, she's like, they tell you so much, but they don't tell you if they're any good. And Randall's just kind of sitting there, feet kicked up, reading the newspaper, not paying attention to this woman whatsoever. And, you know, she asks him, you know, has anybody said anything about these 2 movies? And, you know, Randall's kind of just sitting there, I don't watch movies. And she goes, well, have you heard anybody say anything about these movies? And you know, again, Randall's just like, I don't put myself into the affairs of others. And the woman, you know, pretends to turn around. And then she comes back. She goes, okay, well, how about these 2? Randall, not even looking at her, not even seeing that it's the exact same 2 movies and everything like that, just sits there and goes, oh, they suck. And, you know, she calls him out on his ruse and everything like that. But that was always one of my favorite parts of the job. Not sitting there and telling people that the movie sucks or not paying attention to the customers. I actually paid a lot of attention to our customers. Because if they had seen a movie that I didn't see, because, you know, I thought, well, you know, that movie's going to be garbage or whatever, you know, I would take their recommendation and go home and watch the film. But they would also take our recommendations. Everybody that worked there, you know, Roger Preby, somebody who's been on the show in the past. We talked to him about his film Quarterbin, and he also contributed a little bit to Money's Crazy Failure. Him and I worked there together. That's how we met. And that's actually where he came up with the idea for Quarterbin. And, you know, him and I, you know, we would always banter back and forth about different films that we'd seen and stuff like that. Roger's into a few different things than I am. So, you know, him and I kind of go back and forth about that kind of stuff. But, you know, people would always bring a movie up to the counter, you know, hey, has any of you seen this? Blah, blah, blah. And that was always one of my favorite parts of the job, was just being like, look, if you're looking for a movie like this, this one is not for you. Go and check out another movie. Or, you know, this was a huge thing back then. I'm not sure if it's so much so today. But there would be a big name, big blockbuster movie in theaters. Fast and Furious comes to mind with it. Fast and Furious 948, we'll just say. We would get in, and these always came out around the time that the theatrical date for the big name movies would come out. Like these Asylum Films and things like that. That was the name of the film company. And they would be like cheap ripoffs of whatever the big major movie was that was coming out. People would grab them all the time, and they would just be like, that was not Fast and Furious 948. And we're like, well, yeah, you know, it doesn't say Fast and Furious, you know. But, you know, the general public doesn't think about those things. They just don't. And I would think that it would be the job of the Blockbuster employee to be like, are you looking for Fast and Furious 948? Because if you are, that is not this. You're not going to see Vin Diesel. You're not going to see John Cena. You're not going to see The Rock. You're not going to see Michelle Rodriguez. You're not going to see, you know, anybody else that would appear in the film. Oh, well, what is this? It's a cheap knockoff. You know, think of it as like a Sci-Fi Channel exclusive or something like that. You know, stuff like that. But A lot of times, some of those movies are actually pretty good. I mean, Sharknado. Sharknado is a perfect example. That was one of the biggest things that rented off of our shelves when I was working at Blockbuster. That's how I saw the movie. I didn't watch it on Sci-Fi. I saw the trailer for that shit. I think it was probably during ECW, back when ECW was owned by WWE and garbage. But I saw the trailer for it, and I'm like, what is this? Why is this a thing? That is not physically, like I would just get into all science and shit like that and all that. But, the good old days working at Blockbuster, man. So if their website coming back up, and I'll show it to you again, it is a legit thing. Blockbuster's website is active, and this is what we're seeing. We are working on rewinding your film. Now, like I said, if you go to it from a cell phone, you get a different message. So here's the message that appears on there. Be kind while we rewind. What does this mean? Are they coming back as a physical store? Are they coming as a streaming service? Are we getting the Blockbuster Total Access again? Like, is that what they're doing here? And the funny thing about that is like everything that put Blockbuster out of business, the streaming, well, they weren't streaming yet, but they had the rent by mail, the kiosks, all of that shit is still very prevalent and thriving right now. So what was different about them than Blockbuster? I can answer that question. Blockbuster, by that point, had already announced their bankruptcy. So people had the assumption that Blockbuster was a sinking ship by that point. Physical stores? Yeah, probably. The brand itself? No. The brand could have survived. Because think about that, you have all these stores nationwide closing. Instead of liquidating those assets, you could have taken those assets and put them towards Blockbuster Online. Made your video library for the online that much bigger. And you probably could have done it for the kiosk as well. Think about that. Redbox. They're nothing but new releases. Could you imagine walking up to a Blockbuster kiosk and seeing fucking Beetlejuice or Back to the Future or Ghostbusters or any of those old movies in those kiosks? How excited would you have been? And what if they were only $1 to rent? Or maybe even only 50 cents to rent? Or, whatever. Throw some Blockbuster favorites in those bitches, and I guarantee you probably would have made a little bit more money. But you're also thinking, you're also at the mercy of a man who's known for running convenience stores. And that was Jim Keyes. He was in charge of 7-Eleven. He may still be. I don't know. I don't frequent enough 7-Elevens to know if Jim Keyes still runs them. But that's how Blockbuster got him. He was the CEO of 7-Eleven. And if you go through the history of Blockbuster, which we've done here on this show, it was my very first episode with Redline Radio, as a matter of fact. We talked about some of the different CEOs that Blockbuster had. None of them had anything to do with the film industry or even home video distribution or anything like that. Paramount. It's Paramount. And I don't mean the film company. But let's move on here, right? So there it was, man. I mean, Blockbuster's website active again. What could this possibly mean? Very interesting, very curious that website is just all of a sudden, poof, hello, I'm back. But let's move on here, all right? So, this is the show about everything and nothing, and I think I'm kind of proving that this week. Going old school, not having an agenda, not really having anything to talk about. The Blockbuster thing was interesting, and I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to kick off the show with that. The monologue segment of the show, it was pretty much just saying a little bit about what we got coming up. Why there was no show last week, things like that, blah, blah, blah. So, bam, there we go. All right. Moving on, topic number 2. DC Comics. There's been a lot being said about DC recently. Namely, the fact that James Gunn has taken over, and everybody knows James Gunn from the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Suicide Squad, the second version of Suicide Squad, that was all James Gunn. That second Suicide Squad movie was really fucking good. And obviously, all of the Guardians of the Galaxy things have been fantastic as well. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 ends James Gunn's time with Disney. He then takes over as the CEO of DC's film division. He's not a very popular man right now. Henry Cavill, bye-bye. Ben Affleck is Batman, bye-bye. Robert Pattinson is Batman. For right now, yes, but he's not going to be the main Batman. He's not going to be the Batman of the DC Extended Universe, or whatever they decide to call it. There are 2 movies that are coming out. Well, one already has come out, I should say, that are going to end the previous reign of the DC Extended Universe. Shazam! Fury of the Gods and The Flash. Then we start getting into what James Gunn wants to do. What's interesting about this, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, is if you look at the history of DC Comics, this story that they're telling with the Flash movie, if you know anything about DC, is actually the way that DC rebooted their comic book universe back in 2011. Actually, it might have even been before 2011. Let me confirm that. – 2011. I was right. Okay. So, there that is. Somebody was trying to call me. I apologize. But there it is. So 2011, a story came out called Flashpoint. And it was all about how Barry Allen goes back in time to save his mother. I'm not giving anything away. If you've never read the comic book or seen the animated movie Flashpoint Paradox, shame on you. But it rebooted DC. And after that, heroes had only been on Earth for 5 years. And there are certain things that you see in the Flash trailer that sit there and make me go, aha, I know exactly where they're going with this. It's Flashpoint. I don't want to give too much away because I do think everybody deserves to see this movie, and I think it's going to be very, very good. But you have James Gunn coming in and taking over as the head of DC Comics. And the last film from the Snyderverse, quote unquote, because, there's been more than just Zack Snyder that was making movies. You had David Ayer with Suicide Squad. You had the person in charge of the Joker movies. You had Patty Jenkins with the Wonder Woman movies. You had the person with the Aquaman films. There were other filmmakers other than Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is the one that started that with Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman. And then the main ensemble movie was supposed to be, or was, Justice League. A few things happened with that. We've talked about that in the past. I don't need to get into that. But you're rebooting your entire cinematic universe. You need a level or earth-ending event to be able to do that. Flashpoint is obviously one of the most recent. That and the Darkseid War. Again, if you know DC Comics, you know the stories I'm talking about. So it makes sense that this is going to be the film to end the old, bring in the new. Now, here we go with the problems. Myself included, and everybody else that was a huge fan of those Snyderverse films, really dug Henry Cavill as Superman. We liked Ben Affleck as Batman. We liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. We liked all those different actors and actresses that were playing those characters. For me, minus Ezra Miller. I never really got Ezra Miller as the Flash, but bye-bye. And for other reasons than just the fact that I didn't like him. You're rebooting everything. He has his own vision of things. But seeing what he did with that Justice League movie, bringing in Peacemaker, bringing in King Shark, bringing in characters not a lot of people knew, Polka Dot Man, all of that, and making them so believable, so much so to the fact, Peacemaker got his own TV show. And that Peacemaker TV show was actually really good. And we're going to see more of Peacemaker, played by John Cena, in the new Amanda Waller TV show that they're coming out with. But here's what James Gunn is doing differently than what they were doing in the past. Now, mind you, there are new overlords over at DC as well. It's no longer just Warner Brothers, it's Discovery. And we know that there's something that's going to happen with Discovery Plus. There's something that's going to happen with HBO Max. Those two are supposedly going to be merging at some point, and we're going to get an all brand new streaming service. What does that mean for the people that subscribe, like myself, to HBO? Does that mean that we now get access to Discovery Plus for free? Am I going to end up having to pay to get that streaming service again? Or because I subscribe to HBO, which almost every cable provider on the planet or satellite provider on the planet, if you pay for HBO, you get HBO Max for free. And I think it might even be vice versa. If you pay for HBO Max, you can get HBO for free. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. Do not come back at me and say, hey, the fat guy on Money's Crazy Mind said, if I pay for HBO Max and I don't get HBO, I get it for free. I didn't say that. I said, I think it works that way. At least I think I read somewhere that happens. But I don't know. Because for me, I already pay for HBO, so I get HBO Max for free. Anyway, rewind. Thank you. But yeah, so I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on. But James Gunn is doing things that I think are going to actually benefit this new vision of DC moving forward. And that's this. Not only is he doing movies, but he's doing television shows. He's doing cartoons. And I think, if I remember correctly, he's going to try to bridge into comics as well, which is something that not just DC fans, or at least like-minded DC fans in my case, but Marvel fans have been saying too. What is the one thing that none of these have ever done? At the end of the movie, none of them have said, if you liked this movie, check out the comic book that we based it off of, or check out the series of comic books that we based it off of. Because I mean, there are several different stories that are intertwined in a lot of those in a lot of these movies. Man of Steel, it's 3 different origin stories of Superman combined into one. Batman versus Superman, you have a little bit of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which is a story about Batman when he's older, Batman being way more established than Superman. Which is, well, not way more established, but Batman's been around a lot longer than Superman in Batman v Superman. So we have an older Batman. And Frank Miller's Batman, or The Dark Knight Returns, Batman's been retired for a while, but then has to come back because of a new threat. And at the end of it, he fights Superman in a very similar way to what we see in Batman versus Superman. And then obviously you have the death of Superman story intertwined in that as well, with Batman being killed by Doomsday. That is probably the only part of that film that I did not like. Only because I think that they did Doomsday zero justice in that film. But this is what I'm saying. Like there were several stories intertwined in that. And then if you look at what the Zack Snyder version, the Snyder cut of Justice League was, that's actually very similar to the story that started the New 52. The very first Justice League story of New 52. A lot of that is thrown in there. So this is what I'm saying. That's I don't know how many individual issues of Dark Knight Returns there was, but that trade paperback is pretty fucking thick. Plus, you have the death of Superman. You have the Superman origin story. So you have, that's Dark Knight Returns, Death of Superman, Superman origin story, and Justice League War. That's 4 trade paperbacks right there in 3 movies. That's a lot of books that DC Comics could sell and probably put their comic book division in a little bit of a better way than it currently sits. All you have to do is just sit there and say, like the movie? Check out these comic books for more information. Or even put it at the end of your trailers. Stories used in this movie. Boom, 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 boom. Bam! You sell comic books and you get to keep your longtime fans happy. Win-win. With Flash, with the Flash movie. Golden opportunity. Put on there. Based on the story Flashpoint by Jeff Johns and Scott, and I don't remember who drew it. But bam, put that out there. You sell Flashpoint books. And then people have a little bit more of an idea of where the story came from. Now, obviously, I can just already tell, because I love the Flashpoint story, I can already tell in the trailer that there are definitely some changes. There have been some creative liberties taken with the Flashpoint story. But it's because they're basing it on the Zack Snyder universe, putting it to an end. This is an earth-ending event that's going to end that and start something brand new. This is nothing new in comic books. This is nothing new in movies. This is nothing new in any of that stuff. But leave James Gunn alone. That's my big thing. Like I said, I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I liked his version of Suicide Squad. I like everything that James Gunn has done. The stories he wants to tell are stories that need to be told. And he even came out and said, heroes are already going to be established in my timeline. So there's no reason to retell origin stories. So we don't need to have another Batman Begins. We don't need to have another Man of Steel. Superman Legacy is actually based on a very good comic book. Batman Brave and the Bold is based on Damian Wayne, the now current Robin. And obviously you can tell by his last name who his daddy is, but who's his mother? That's the story that I want to see told on film. Who's going to play Damian Wayne? Now, my buddy Roger, he's not too keen on that because he's like, oh, here we go. We got teenage Ghostbusters. Now we're going to have a teenage Robin. Every Robin has been a teenager, bro. Where the fuck have you been? I don't know how much of that came through. I think I was a little bit too close to the microphone. But I'll say that again. Every Robin has been a teenager. Dick Grayson, when he first became Robin, was a teenager. Jason Todd was a teenager. Every Robin has been a teenager. Even the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns was a fucking teenager. So what does it matter if Damian Wayne is a teenager? Not everybody can be Nightwing, bro. See, those are the kind of arguments that Roger and I get into, man. I'm so glad that you finally get to hear how stupid some of the shit that comes out of Roger's brain is. But I digress. He didn't like the Teenage Ghostbusters thing either. But you know what? I got to tell you, Afterlife was a great flick. That's all I got to say. We'll see what happens now with Firehouse, which is already in production. I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Because I do want to talk about them starting production finally. So we'll end the DC talk with this. And here's what I want to say. None of these films have come out yet. None of these TV shows have come out yet. None of these cartoons have come out yet. So we don't know if James Gunn is ruining the DC cinematic universe or not. So let's give these films time to come out. He hasn't even announced anybody. He hasn't announced any of his cast yet. Yes, he got rid of Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. Yes, he got rid of Henry Cavill. Yes, he got rid of Ben Affleck. Yes, he got rid of this person. Yes, he got rid of that person. But you know who we didn't get rid of because he got rid of himself by his own personal actions outside of the set? Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller fired himself by beating up people in bars. But that's all, man. I mean, just leave James Gunn alone, man. Motherfucker ain't got, all he did was take a job. All he did was have an idea. Would I love to see the rest of whatever Zack Snyder was going to do? Absolutely, because that Zack Snyder cut of Justice League was that good. But we don't know. We'll never know. I do wish SnyderCon was going to be shown nationwide, though. I can tell you that much, because I would love to see the Snyder Cut in IMAX, which was the format that he shot it in. Would love that. Fortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get it, because SnyderCon's only going to be in one city at one theater, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have the money to travel. I don't think anybody else really has that much money to travel either. But we're getting into it now. Let's jump to break. We're going to break a little bit early, but we're going to jump to break here on Money's Crazy Mind. When we come back, more of just the show about everything and nothing all at the same time. We'll be right back right here on Redline Radio. This is Money's Crazy Mind. Don't go anywhere.
Sounds like a really good deal.
Who are you talking to?
The Northeast Ohio Ghostbusters.
Hello, Northeast Ohio Ghostbusters. What are you wearing?
Khakis?
Well, that sounds hideous.
Well, they're Ghostbusters.
Production studio. The team at Growing Wings has over 7 years' experience of helping adults with disabilities in the Northeast Ohio area. If Lisa Summers and the team at Growing Wings can help your family, contact them at 234-334-7547 today. And mention that you heard all about Growing Wings right here on Redline Radio, LLC. We are back. Our number dos of Money's Crazy Mind. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show here, Redline Radio is going to be at the Piston Powered Autorama, sponsored by Summit Racing Equipment, next weekend, March 31st through April 2nd, broadcasting live all weekend long. We are bringing all of your Redline Radio favorites, talking about balls, Lex Vegas, That Guy Dub, Club Pizzle, 4th and 15, Unscripted, Cocktails or Comedy and Cocktails with Jen Jen, TMI, The Grapevine, The Lex Vegas Show, Steel City Renegades, Loud and Local, Money's Crazy Mind, Timbuk Tuesday. We are all going to be there broadcasting live all weekend long, starting at 11 a.m. Friday. And we're going to have some very special guests this weekend as well. There are shows that are bringing their own guests. There are people just walking around the IX Center that we're probably going to try to tackle and gang rush. I'm kidding. But, you know, we got all that going on. So, I know you're hearing the sound of my voice, and you're seeing me, but I'm not really live right now. I know I keep saying I'm live, but I'm not. I'm lying to you guys. Yeah, I know. Kick my ass, right? But no, the reason why I'm not live is because I'm actually down in Strongsville as we speak right now, watching the official band of Redline Radio LLC. You see the t-shirt, I'm wearing it. Bad Juju. They are going on right now. They started about an hour ago at the local in Strongsville on Pearl Road. Now, I'm not actually sitting there watching them. I'm actually in the back working, but I'm there. I can hear them through the wall, as we always do with every band. But, Lisa Summers, general manager of Redline Radio, is actually in attendance watching the Bad Juju show. So if you guys want to check out the last part of their show and everything here tonight, I think they're going on until about 12:30. Come on down to the local, man. And come party with us. Kitchen's open until 1:30 a.m. But, so that's happening right now as well. I mentioned the Piston Power Show coming up March 31st through April 2nd. And then April 5th, I'm sure the guys were talking about balls talked about this Wednesday. They will be live at Lucy's going on from 7 to 9 p.m. Money's Crazy Mind will be coming to Lucy's very soon as well. So before we get into anything else here, like I said, I don't really have a format for this week. I'm kind of just going by the seam of my pants, man. And I got to tell you, I think that's more fun than having a bunch of, research and shit like that to do. This is how Money's Crazy Mind got started. And I know my first show, I talked about a comic book, Ghostbusters 101. You guys saw a clip of it last week or 2 weeks ago when I did episode 100. Money's Crazy Failure, the documentary or mockumentary, I guess you can call it. But I like these kind of shows. I like just coming in here and just like, what do I want to talk about? What's going on? What kind of discussion can we have this week? Those are fun shows for me, man. I enjoy doing that shit. But life hasn't been too kind to good old man behind the asylum. life's got a funny thing going on. And last night, late last night, I got word that somebody that actually was paramount in my decision to come here to Redline Radio, unfortunately lost a battle to cancer. And I know that her relationship with Redline Radio didn't necessarily end on the greatest of terms, but you know, you never want to hear that kind of thing. And my thoughts and my prayers and everything are going out to Dave Fetro, Carla, Sam, everybody involved with the Pillow Talk show that used to be here at Redline Radio, and also, Jen's family, her husband, Dave, everybody. When the news broke that we lost Jen late last night. So on behalf of everybody here at Redline Radio, we are definitely sorry to hear about Jen's passing. Like I said, her relationship with Redline Radio may not have ended on the best of terms, but that doesn't mean that there weren't those of us here at Redline Radio that still don't feel loss for that and everything. So we're gonna have a moment of silence for Jen right now, and I just feel it's the right thing to do. Again, thoughts and prayers go out to Jen's family and obviously her friends and Carla and Sam, her co-hosts from Pillow Talk. Like I said, Jen and Carla, you knew them as Thelma and Louise from Pillow Talk, are pretty paramount into me being here at Redline Radio. Before I came here, I had been friends with Carla for quite some time. Went to high school with her, and I had heard that she was starting her own podcast. By that point, Money's Crazy Mind had been around for a little bit, and we were kind of going strong at that point. And I'm just like, hey, want to get them some publicity, want to get myself some publicity. So I wanted to interview them. And, I reached out to Carla, and, she kind of told me that, she was under contract here at the time. And, I would need to reach out to Dave and see if it would be possible since they were under contract. So obviously I reached out to Dave. And, Dave was cool with it and then mentioned, me bringing Money's Crazy Mind here to Redline, and obviously that decision was totally Dave's, somewhat mine too. But we agreed, and we thought it would be a nice relationship. It's turned out pretty well, and I did the interview with them, and I tried keeping it to the tune of Pillow Talk. That was their show. I was interviewing them. They weren't asking me questions about Money's Crazy Mind. I was asking them questions about Pillow Talk and things like that. And had mentioned a few personal things from my past during that broadcast, and a lot of those stories went all the way back to high school, and things like that. So, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And that's kind of where I was going with the whole thing. It just meant a lot to me that they thought enough about me to bring me into the fold. So, and let me do that interview with them. So, forever grateful to those girls for everything that they helped do to get Money's Crazy Mind where it is today. And it just is what it is. Cancer is evil. I've lost quite a few of my own family members to cancer. And I know a lot of other people, my wife included, her father died from cancer and everything. It's a horrible, horrible disease. And hopefully one day, we'll be able to cure every form of cancer. I didn't mean to bring down the mood of the show, but, it needed to be said. And, if anybody at Redline has a problem with me mentioning it, then, bring it up with me. That's all I got to say. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in at Redline if it wasn't for them bringing me here. That's all I got to say about that. All right, let's have some more fun, right? That's what we're here for. We're here to have fun. So before we went to break, I talked about, people need to lay off James Gunn because, we haven't seen anything that he's done yet for this new DC cinematic universe that we're going to be getting. So lay off the dude, okay? Like, come on. But I say it all the time, life finds a way, right? And, I probably would have never mentioned the local or the fact that I worked there, if I wasn't working there. But, I guess my position right now with what's going on at the local and everything is kind of is paramount to of the fact that you never really want to burn bridges with any of the places that you've ever worked before, because you never know when you're going to need them or when they're going to need you, which is what happened. They called me, they said they needed me. So I'm just like, okay, I'll come help you out for a little bit, but my physical health obviously hasn't been the best for a while. I mean, normally if you guys see me on the air, I got whatever I got in my Redline cup, or I'm drinking a soda or, whatever. Here I am, I'm drinking fucking water. And, a lot of that has to do with the shit that went on with my stomach a couple weeks ago. And also the fact that I ain't getting any fucking younger. And if I don't get back into some semblance of a shape other than round, a lot of the problems that I'm having are probably never going to go away. And I've got to be cognizant of that. And I gotta start putting that to the front. So, you guys are going to see a lot of those changes happening. This being one of them in the coming months here on Money's Crazy Mind. But here comes the rant part of the show. I know I kind of ranted a little bit about DC and stuff like that, but here comes the actual rant. Ever since I got injured when I was working at the post office, it has been one sling of bullshit followed by another. The most recent sling of bullshit was, I get the recommendations from the doctor that the Department of Labor sent me to. It was their doctor, recommended by the United States Postal Service. I go, and he says a few things that I kind of knew, right? But he looks me dead in the face, and he looks my wife dead in the face, and he tells both of us, if I were your orthopedic surgeon, I would have done a knee replacement 10 years ago. I don't care how young you are. The longer the way your knee is right now continues, you are going to continue to have problems for the rest of your life until that knee is replaced. And he put it in his recommendation to the Department of Labor multiple times. Recommended course of action is total knee replacement. The doctor that I've been seeing from day one with this whole thing says that's their doctor. That's his recommendation. That's the recommendation I'm going with. Now we just need to get an orthopedic surgeon to sign off on it, and we'll get you 100% all over again. You'll be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your life. Great. Awesome. Let's go. Who's the orthopedic surgeon? So it's somebody that I'd seen before while dealing with this. And he didn't necessarily toss around the term total knee replacement or even knee replacement, but he had thrown around the word surgery almost every time I went and saw him. So we get this recommendation from the Department of Labor. Their doctor, I'm adamant about repeating that. It was their doctor. This is not somebody I reached out and found. This was somebody they found. I go with him. He has the report from this doctor. He's reading through it. He's reading all of his notes, reading everything. This guy is looking at an MRI from a year ago when I first had it done, when this whole thing started. And he's basing his recommendation on that and what he witnessed at my physical examination when I went and saw him. So I go to this guy, and all of a sudden his mood has completely changed. And at this point, he's not acting like a doctor. He's acting like a fucking priest. And if you've known anything about the way I've done this show in the past, I do not believe in organized religion. So if you're talking to me like a fucking priest, I'm going to get pissed. I don't need somebody to preach at me. I know I'm overweight. I know I'm fat. I know I can't walk right. I know all of this. I do a lot of things that I probably shouldn't be doing. I'm not here for that. I'm here to find out what you're going to do to fix my knee. That's what I'm here for. So I'm here, and he's preaching to me about my weight. And I don't want to get too deep into some of the stuff that he was talking about because some of it is unethical. And I'm not naming any names in this either, so there's that. But some of the things he told me were unethical, like trying to get certain medications that don't do or are not for what he wanted me to take it for. And he also wanted me to lie to my insurance about it. Like, he was doing shit like that. And say, I have these conditions. Have my doctor say, I have the 2 conditions that this medication is actually for because the side effect is this. And it could help him in his agenda, his new agenda. I'll put it that way. And he says, I want to try a cortisone shot. I want to see if that's going to work. It might, it should help alleviate a lot of the pain that you're having. Fine. You're obviously not going to sit there and say, I'm going to give you, he keeps telling me that I'm not a candidate for it. And that at my age, in 30 years, I'm going to have to get another replacement. And I'm 38, dude. When I'm 68, I'm not going to give a shit. But for 30 years, at least my quality of life will be better. For 30 years, at least I won't wake up in pain. For 30 years, at least I'll be able to fucking walk right. For 30 years, I won't go to bed in pain. For 30 years, I won't have to rely on medication just to get through my daily life. For 30 years, I could have the ability to go to work and come home without having to grab bags of ice, bottles of medication, and tell my wife, I can't move. Right now, that's what's important to me. I'll worry about what happens when I'm 68 when I'm 68. Because by the time I'm 68, I probably won't even give a shit if my knee works or not. If I even make it to 68. But he does the shot. And when I tell you that I was in more pain than I have ever felt in my life for the rest of the day, that appointment was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So from, let's say, 1:30, 1:45-ish, when they finally stuck the needle in me, until I went to bed that night at around midnight, I was fucking miserable. I couldn't walk. I was in pain. Any little bit of movement to my knee, and it was like I had somebody rip my fucking knee apart. It was horrible. I had to take the medication that he says that this shot was supposed to get me off of just to be able to sleep. And I had to take double the dose because I was miserable. The next day I wake up and I'm back to the way I was before you gave me the shot. And I've been the same way ever since. And we're talking the end of February, I want to say. And when I went and saw my regular doctor a week or so later, I told her the same thing. I'm like, I don't know what the point of this shot was. It's not doing anything. I just saw her 2 days ago. And I told her the exact same thing. I'm like, I'm still in the exact same condition, in the exact same position I was in before he gave me the shot. So what was the point of this cortisone shot? And she's looking at my knee because I'm wearing shorts because it's been warmer the past few days. And she's like, you have fluid pockets in your knee. Were those there before he gave you the shot? And I'm like, I want to say yes. Yes, they were. Because I just thought about this. And I'm pretty sure I told her this when I saw her. But yes, because he even mentioned, and so did the doctor from the Department of Labor that says that it looks like you have fluid on your knee. So a cortisone shot, a Euflexa shot, any of that stuff isn't going to do anything. It's just going to make it worse. So why do it? But now, because I have this gunk in my fucking leg, those fluid pockets or packets or whatever the fuck they are now more prominent and you can see them. And she's even touching my knee and she goes, oh yeah, that's bad. We need to get that drained. God damn. So now I need to have another surgery to get these fucking fluid pockets drained, which probably means I'm not going to be able to walk for a few days. So now I'm on the hunt for a new orthopedic surgeon. And I'm not understanding this at all because you would think that federal level workers' comp cases, it would be so much easier to find a doctor, but it's not. There are so few doctors, not just here in Northeast Ohio, but all over the country, that handle this style of case, that I might be at the mercy of this doctor that now all of a sudden has changed his tone from surgery to nothing. I don't get it, man. I seriously don't. I don't understand this. I don't know why all of a sudden this guy is not willing to do anything. I'm at a loss for words. And it's driving me bonkers. But that's rant part 1. So if anybody out there knows of any orthopedic surgeons that specialize in knees that will do federal cases, please reach out to me because I need them badly. But, here's the other effect of this, and this asshole even mentioned it to me when I'm in his office and he's about ready to stick me with a fucking cortisone needle. He's like, this leads to other things. This leads to depression. This leads to this. This leads to that. No fucking shit, Sherlock. I've only dealt with it for most of my life, but yeah, this is making it that much worse because now I have this complete uncertainty about what is going on with me. At first, you were like, I want to at least go in there and see what's going on. If a knee replacement is needed, I'll do it. But I want to do exploratory surgery to figure out what's going on with you. Then it looks like you have damage to your kneecap. Maybe we should go in there and repair that. Then it was, you know what? Maybe we should go in there and check out your meniscus too, because there's probably more damage to your meniscus. Then I have necrosis of my femur. So you're every time I go to see you, you're finding something else wrong. And then you have another doctor backing up 99% of the claims that you're saying. The necrosis, the possible damage to the kneecap. There's more than likely more damage to my meniscus. This, that, and the third. And he's recommending, at this point, his leg is fucking falling apart. Put a fucking bionic thing in there, and let's just get him on his way, man. But yeah, it is causing me depression. But it's not causing the depression, but it's definitely making the depression that I already have that much worse. And when I ask for a recommendation to go see a psychiatrist so that I can try to get all of this shit, all of these negative feelings, all of this crap that I have going on up here because of all this uncertainty figured out, you won't even do that. So what good are you, dude? People have been wondering a lot recently why the quality of this show has kind of fallen. It has a lot to do with this. Half the time, I don't even feel like coming on the air. Because it's like, I got to sit here for 2 fucking hours in misery. Because sitting hurts. Standing hurts. Walking, forget about it. It doesn't matter what I do, I'm in pain. And the other thing that everybody kept trying to bring up, pre-existing condition. You've had surgery on your knee before, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you want to know what the difference is between then and now? After I got that surgery, I wasn't in pain. After I got hurt when I was delivering mail, ow. And it's been constant. It hasn't gone away. It's been getting worse. I just want some relief. And if a knee replacement is going to give me relief for 30 years to where I can stop worrying about it and stop wondering why nobody is willing to help me anymore and why all these different things are happening to me, then fucking goddamn it, why isn't that something that you would want? But that's what it is, man. And here's something else that I'm racking my brain about. Why is it that nobody out here can sit here and have an opinion anymore? Why is it that everybody has to think the exact same way? Why is it that everybody has to do the exact same thing that everybody else is doing? What happened to the individuality that we all strived and fought for decades? You know, when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, the one thing everybody wanted to be was different from everybody else. Did we have the cliques? Did we have all of that shit? Abso-fucking-lutely. Did bullying and all that shit exist back then? Absolutely. You're looking at a victim of it. But the one thing that everybody could agree on was that everybody deserved to be different than everybody else. Now, you say the wrong thing about the wrong topic, all of a sudden you are crucified. You end up looking like the asylum does. But on top of that, you go and voice your opinion, you're going to get crucified. Doesn't matter where it is. It can be on regular local news. It could be here on Redline Radio. It could be on Twitter. It could be on Twitch. It could be on TikTok. It could be on any of that crap. If your opinion doesn't match somebody else's, you are crucified. And I know that I've crucified people on this very show for having opinions, but their opinions were based on bullshit. There was no fact to any of it. There was no fact to anything going on. Like the girl that was trying to sit there and say that Metallica was racist. Where's the evidence of this? So they didn't want a rapper on a show that was for a rock band. Gee, I wonder why. Because the audience that listens to Metallica, 90% of the time, and I'm saying 90 because I'm in the 10%, don't listen to rap. That's why they didn't want Metallica on that that rapper on that show. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin. It had everything to do with the kind of music he performed. And you know what? Metallica's stance since then has kind of changed. They did a song with Swiss Beats, man. Swiss Beats and Ja Rule. It's called We Did It Again. But the other thing is that what's old is new again. And I think we can kind of see that with what happened with Stranger Things. You know, that song running up that hill went gangbusters on Spotify. And then as soon as Master of Puppets hit the episode with Eddie, Metallica jumped up on Spotify. A lot of new people have discovered something old. Master of Puppets is from 1986. But then the crucifixion started of Metallica by that person. And a lot of people out there believe that what that woman said. Case in point, I'm going to be covering the album release party for Metallica's 72 seasons, not only for Money's Crazy Mind, but for Redline Radio as a whole. I put that announcement out on my social media. Hey, I'm going to be there April 13th. For the album release party for Metallica's 72 seasons, and I'll be reporting on it. Why would you want to do that? They're a bunch of racist motherfuckers, blah, 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 blah. Nobody watch Money's Crazy Mind. Stay away from Redline Radio. This guy's a racist because he likes Metallica. Da, 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 da. No, that is not the case whatsoever. I don't have a racist bone in my body as far as I know. I like people from all different races, creeds, religious standpoints, all of that. That shit doesn't bother me. If you're a nice and decent human being, I'll be friends with you. You could be fucking blue as the sky. if you're nice, I don't care. You listen to rap? Great. I listen to a little bit of it too. Let's jam. You listen to country? So do I. I don't care. That's why Money's Crazy soundtrack is the way it is. That's why I try to play a little bit of everything on that show. Because I listen to a little bit of everything. Speaking of Money's Crazy soundtrack, we'll be back next week, and I got something special for you. But my opinion is that I like Metallica. I've liked Metallica for 30-something years. I have the opportunity, because of my position here at Redline Radio, to do something that I've never done before, and that's cover an album release. There's going to be fans there, but there's also going to be other media there. This is the media global release of Metallica's 72 Seasons, and I get to be there. And I think, don't quote me on this, I think, but if I remember what I read on the website correctly, was that there's going to be a Q&A with Metallica. I get to ask Metallica questions? Sign me up. I don't care how much this costs. Sign me the fuck up. I will be there, bells and whistles on, Metallica t-shirt on. If I can find Metallica drawers before this fucking thing happens, I will wear Metallica drawers. I will buy Metallica pants. I will buy Metallica shoes. I will wear a Metallica fucking condom. I don't care. If I get to ask just one question of Metallica, yes, please. But even if I don't, it's just the fact that I get to be at something that media insiders, and I guess now I'm one of them, but media insiders have only historically ever been able to be at, is beyond excellent and beyond cool to me. The opportunity that I get to go to this event, period. Even if I wasn't covering it for Redline Radio, the fact that I even get a chance to go to this event is beyond mind-blowing. And I'm going with a musician. So not only do I have my perspective of what I think of the new Metallica album, plus whatever information Metallica reveals about it, because they're going to be telling the story behind the album, behind all the songs, and everything else during this event. I also get to talk to a buddy of mine who's a musician and get his take on it. And everything that's come out from this album so far, Lux Eterna, Screaming Suicide, If Darkness Had a Sun, those songs are all good. And they're going back to an old style of Metallica that we haven't heard in 30-something years. So there's that part of it too. I can't wait for this event, man. And I'm super excited about it. That's not how I wanted to announce that I was going to do it. But I just found it funny that all of a sudden, if you don't like something that a majority of keyboard warriors that are probably sitting there jacking it off in their fucking mother's basement don't like, you're public enemy number one, and you're going to get crucified on social media. Since when did anybody give a shit? Oh, you like Metallica? I don't. Oh, that's cool. I guess we can't talk about Metallica. Sorry. What else you want to talk about? You got something else on your mind? We can talk about that. That's the way shit used to go. It's the way shit went 20, 30 years ago. Why can't we just get back to that point? Oh, this person says something stupid. Cool. I'm not gonna support them anymore. But you don't have to go on Facebook. You don't have to go on Twitter. You don't have to go on TikTok. You don't have to go on all these different places and sit there and announce, this person said something I don't like. So because I don't like what they said, you can't either. This person said fuck 14 times. Don't go see any more of his movies. You know, I heard everything that Joss Whedon did to those cats from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched Buffy to begin with. So it's no skin off my teeth. Hey, cool. I just won't watch Buffy anymore. Not like I did to begin with. I don't sit there and go online and go, I don't come on here on Money's Crazy Mind and be like, hey, Joss Whedon's a sexual predator, which he is. Don't support Buffy anymore. The guy didn't write the show. These weren't characters that he came up with. All he did was direct it. So how do you stop Joss Whedon from getting another job? Don't go see anything that he's done. Then all of a sudden everybody's going to be like, nobody likes Joss Whedon anymore. But here's the other thing. Yeah, Charisma Carpenter and all those cats, they came out and they're like, yeah, he's a fucking piece of shit. And he is. You know who else saw the tweets from Sarah Michelle Gellar and Charisma Carpenter and everybody else from that show? Hollywood execs. If Hollywood wants to make the determination that Joss Whedon is too much of a liability to work with anymore because of these allegations that are out there, and if they think that they're not going to make money off of a Joss Whedon TV show or a Joss Whedon movie, guess what? They won't work with him. But they'll make that decision on their own. They don't need the keyboard warriors scratching their nuts in mommy and daddy's basement to tell them that. They can figure that out for themselves. If for 1 second I believed anything that woman came out and said on TikTok about Metallica, I wouldn't have pre-ordered 72 Seasons. I would not be going to the album release party. I would not be playing Metallica on Redline Radio Thursday nights on Money's Crazy Soundtrack, 5 to 7 p.m. exclusively on RedlineRadioLLC.com. I wouldn't be doing those things. Why? Because I'm not going to subjugate somebody to listen to that I don't want to listen to on my own broadcast, on my own show. If I for 1 second believed anything that woman said, or couldn't sit there and explain away the things that she thought was considered racist or Nazism, and she basically called Metallica Nazis. If you watch the video, what he's doing is not necessarily what she's claiming that it's doing. And we're talking about Jason Newsted. But if anybody that's heard the And Justice for All album knows that the song that they were performing when he was doing that particular thing, they do a chant from the beginning of The Wizard of Oz. And I'm sure that chant was done somewhere else before The Wizard of Oz, but The Wizard of Oz is from 1939, so it's my guess that it probably didn't exist before then. And it's the Witches' Soldiers. And they do this little thing. And I know you can't see what my hand's doing, they're doing something like that. And that was before the Nazis even existed. So if you want to blame anybody for that thing becoming what it is, blame fucking Hitler. But Jason Newsted doing that on stage does not necessarily make him a fucking Nazi. It just makes it because they're going, oh, we, oh, yo. And I know we've talked about this in the past, and I think we talked about it with Bill and Sean from Pit Road Diecast when they came in the studio. But I'm proving a point here. I'm having my rant. If you look at everything the way it's meant to be looked at, if you look at the song, The Frayed Ends of Sanity, and if you listen to the album version of the song and you hear that chant at the beginning of it, and then you go and watch The Wizard of Oz and you hear the Witches' Soldiers making that exact same chant and making that exact same arm movement, is it not that far out of the realm of possibility to think that maybe Jason Newsted was doing the arm movement from the Witches' Soldiers in The Wizard of Oz, as opposed to making the Nazi Zig Heil sign? That's what I'm saying. Just nobody's a critical thinker anymore. Everybody's just, oh, he did a thing I don't like. Fucking ban his ass. And the worst one about it out there doing that kind of shit is Facebook. You know, yes. Does Redline Radio have 9 different fucking pages on Facebook? Yes, we do. Do we try to share our content to all of them? Yes, we do. Why? Because there are people out there that are exclusively on the Redline Radio Studio 2 page. There are people out there that are exclusively on the Redline Media Group page. There are people out there that are on the Redline Radio LLC page. There are people that are out there on the Talking About Balls page, on the Money's Crazy Mind page. You know, this, that, and a third. So we're going to share our content to as many different places as we can to make sure that our total audience has access to our content. But to sit there and send me and send Dave and send Lisa and send anybody else who's an executive here at Redline Radio a message over Facebook that says your page is about to be prohibited because we're sharing our content is basically a big giant slap in the face, kick in the ass, and a definite
You suck!
to content creators who might do the same thing. Now, here's the thing. The Redline, or the Money's Crazy Mind page existed before I was at Redline Radio. The only show from Redline Radio that gets shared to the Money's Crazy Mind page is Money's Crazy Mind. The only show that gets shared to the Talking About Balls page is Talking About Balls. But we stream all of our content across our three main pages: Redline Radio LLC, Redline Radio Studio 2, and Redline Media Group. What people do with it from there is beyond our control. If anybody wants to go and share it from all three of those pages to another page, that's on them. They're a fucking moron for doing it. But to sit there and tell us that we're misrepresenting our own brand is kind of bullshit. And here's the other thing that sucks about that whole thing. You can't, I don't know if anybody's tried to recently, or I know I have. You can't contact anybody at Facebook and sit there and say, look, here's why our stuff is the way it is. Please stop banning our pages. It's not like we're, and that's the thing. Okay. I'll throw this out there for everybody. Okay. If we were sharing copyrighted material left and right, if we were showing clips and clips and clips from movies, or clips and clips and clips from TV shows, or we are playing music in its entirety on these platforms, not our internet radio station, but on these platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, which are the four streaming sites or social media brands that we stream to, then I could understand you sitting there and saying, hey, don't do that. But then, even then, we can sit there and say, yo, dude, we got BMI licensing, so we can basically do whatever the fuck we want with music. To an extent. But movie clips, TV show clips, shit like that, I can understand us getting banned for that. But we're not doing that. So what are you banning us for? For getting our content out there? Isn't that our job as content creators, to get our content out to as many people as possible? This is why we use your platform. If you want us to leave Facebook, we have no problem doing it. Trust me. And we've had this problem since last year, the last time I had to cuss you motherfuckers out for doing some stupid shit. But we as content creators have the right to share our content to as many places and as many platforms as possible. We do that through our pages. Redline Media Group is its own personal entity. Redline Radio Studio 2 is its own entity. Redline Radio LLC is its own entity, all under the Redline Radio banner. So that's why we have everything come from one site and share it to multiple streams. I don't see what's the problem with that. I don't. So if there's a human being that just so happens to work at Facebook that wants to reach out to me and explain it to me, then maybe I can explain it to our show host when I tell them, hey, we can't share your show anymore because every time we try to do that, they ban a page on Facebook and then we're not able to share the shit anyway. Deal, Facebook, deal. Because if not, we'll just leave Facebook. Like I said, we don't have a problem doing it. All right. So I already talked about what's coming up in a couple of weeks here. I'm going to be covering the Metallica album release party for 72 Seasons. I'm very excited about this. I get to go to it with a buddy of mine who is a musician. You'll find out who that musician is when we get there. Obviously, I can't broadcast live from the event because that would be bad, and I'm sure Metallica wouldn't like that very much. But the next day, when the album drops officially, and we have all of the tracks available to us, I'm going to go on redlineradiolllc.com, and we are going to play Metallica 72 Seasons in its entirety. And I'm going to break down my thoughts of the album afterwards. I pre-ordered 72 Seasons from Metallica.com, so it should be on my front porch April 14th. And I am not even going to listen to the album before we go live on Redline Radio LLC. That is my promise to you. When I hear it for the first time, you will hear it for the first time. Now, I've already played Lux Eterna. I've already played Screaming Suicide on RedlineRadioLLC.com. If Darkness Has a Son will be coming up this upcoming Thursday. You know what? Better idea. We're going to save the RedlineRadioLLC.com premiere of If Darkness Has a Son for the piston-powered Autorama. And I'll do a special edition of Money's Crazy soundtrack live from the IX Center sometime Friday. Stay tuned for updates on that. I just had that idea. You see, this is why I like not coming into the asylum with an agenda. The asylum's burned down. So, like, I'm fucking homeless, man. So, like, I got to find a new asylum to move into. Nurse Ratched, she ran away hours ago when motherfuckers started burning this place to the fucking ground. So, I'm going to go find her, and we're going to find a new asylum to come from next week. But next week, we'll be at the IX Center for the piston-powered Autorama, so it'll be 2 weeks when I have to find a new asylum. But there it is. Season 3 of Money's Crazy Mind is going to be starting here very, very soon. May is when Season 3 of Money's Crazy Mind is going to start. Hopefully, you guys heard we went back to Funny Bone as the opening theme song here on Redline Radio LLC for Money's Crazy Mind. Just missed the song. You know, I heard it when I was putting the when I was watching Money's Crazy Failure, and I'm like, man, that's a good song. And so I brought it back to the actual show. But you know, like we said at the beginning of the show, Money's Crazy Failure, the director's cut, coming soon. More information about that as that comes closer. Next week, if I get a chance to go see Scream 6, we'll do the horror movie thing. If not, I'm researching this really weird cold case from Laramie, Wyoming from 1985. Here's what's weird about it. A woman is murdered. Can I have the headphones back, chair, please? Guess not. All right, I'll have to fix that before I leave. But now I'm like tethered. But anyway, this woman is murdered in 1985 in Laramie, Wyoming. The case was cold for a while. They brought in a couple people as a suspect. They thought that they had somebody. They had DNA evidence at the scene, not necessarily in the crime scene, but at the scene, linking this person to being there. He has reasons for why he was there. But then also in 2016, they charged this person. The charges were dropped not too long after that, and they have not been refiled, despite the head detective on the case's best efforts to get them refiled. What makes this case interesting is some of the things that have come about it or come out recently about it, which is why I want to talk about it. And if you want more information on the case that I'm talking about, but like I said, either next week it'll be Reboots Killing Horror, or we're going to talk about this cold case. There's a podcast out about the case called The Coldest Case in Laramie. I want to go back and I want to go through some of the information. I want to see if I can get my hands on some of the case files about it and some of the articles that have been written about this case. And I'm going to reach out to the person who made the podcast and see if either A, we can play some snippets from the show, or if she wants to come on and talk about it with me. So stay tuned for more information about that. Also, I'm going to be reaching out to somebody else because they invented a hashtag that I love. And it's called Spoiled. It's a hashtag Spoiled by Metal. So stay tuned for all of that. That's all coming at you very soon from Money's Crazy Mind. And again, one last time before we get out of here. We will be live at the Piston Powered Autorama next week, starting at 11 a.m. Friday. That's going to do it for Money's Crazy Mind. We're just about 2 hours. So until next week, everybody, hopefully I can find a new home since my asylum burned to the ground. But we'll be back next week, either talking about a cold case from Laramie, Wyoming, or our Reboots Killing Horror. So until then, everybody have yourselves a week.
Production.
That's all, folks.
Money's Crazy Mind is a proud Redline Media Group and Nameless, Faceless production.
That's all, folks.